Welcome to the Starting Over Podcast. I'm your host, Edward Shelton, aka Dark Logos, and this is a show where we talk about the strategies, tactics, and mechanics behind the game of heroclix. It's been an interesting last couple of weeks. I don't think I did a show last week. Sorry about that, people. States and WizKids Opens and all sorts of other jank. Major tournaments. I had my teammate, Matt. He won Utah States, so I'm super happy about that. It is a big boon for Phoenix Nest. So, yay. The thing that we are just looking at right now is just getting things ready for nationals and then, of course, getting ready for states. So that's why the content has been a bit delayed. So again, I apologize for that. I know the last episode was post-exhaustion. So anyway, let's get into today's show. Today's show is going to be mainly reflecting on the lessons I learned from states, and some of it is not taking my own advice and seeing how some things have turned out and utilizing some lessons from myself and my teammates from this last week to help make sure that you yourself don't make those same mistakes going forward. All right, so let's get into it. And if I had some cool in the medium transition music, it would play now. So again, today is more of what's in your head and prep stuff. So if you're not into that, I'm sorry. Today's episode isn't going to tell you how to crush Origins. Sorry. Just letting you know. I'm going to start off with my shortcomings this week for this tournament. Shortcoming number one, and I would say our first point to look at is make sure in your prep you're going over every detail in your prep. And so I was running a Quinjet team, and I'm not going to go into the details of that Quinjet team for a little bit more obvious reasons. But in running that Quinjet team, there were some things that I know that I did very poorly. And one of which is not remembering all of my inspirations and just thinking about the characters on the card, okay? And only thinking about the characters on the card, I did my team a huge disservice in multiple situations, that if I thought about it a little bit better, I could have actually done some, way better tech, way better tech, but I didn't. And so I know that by not paying attention to them, I cost myself chances to come back in a couple of games. And that really, really sucked. I mean, I kid you not, that really sucked. For example, just being 100% transparent here. In one situation, I burned a Captain Marvel ID card and had another attacker attack being adjacent to the Captain Marvel ID card, and my opponent the following turn outwitted the character that was adjacent to the Captain Marvel character. In which, no, you couldn't, because I have Power Cosmic. So there was something just right there. It's oh wow, I should have remembered that he's giving me Power Cosmic. Or, I should remember, oh, look, Steel is modifying my defense since he's called in. Oh, look, Batgirl modifies my defense. I mean, not Batgirl, Stargirl modifies my defense by +1 when I call her in. There's little things that are overlooked for the fact, I mainly was looking at the characters being brought in and thoroughly going over them instead of, hey, what do your inspirations do? Make sure your inspirations are lined up properly. Don't get gung ho about summoning guys in. Think also, how is this going to work best, with your team. Okay. So right there is a starting point that I feel that is a huge issue. And I know there were a lot of people playing, Quinjet teams this weekend. I know one venue in particular had like 6 Quinjet teams. So yeah, I understand this is going to be the new normal for a lot of people. And so getting good, son. Being mindful of what characters do you really need there, when you are summoning those characters for their ID purposes, and when are you summoning those characters for their being permanently on the field purposes, and still being mindful that, hey, you might come into a situation where you might need to rotate around some of your options. So I'm just sort of throwing that out there. All right, next lesson is practice and practice and practice, and go over your team very thoroughly. I think some mistakes that I can look at from myself this weekend and from my team this weekend is that we had some things that were run that weren't fully practiced out. I know my team really wasn't ran properly. There were things that could have been done better. And I play tested about 5 to 6 games with my team. And some people might say, hey, that's a lot. And for a serious competitive player, they would say, ooh, that's real low. That's real low, Dark Logo. Shame on you. You didn't put in due diligence. And I didn't. And so those are some things that I really want folks to understand. Like, at a higher level of play, you can't just be like, well, this team worked well twice, so I think I'm going to go with this. I have one gentleman I play tested with whose states is actually going on as I'm recording, and he's play tested his team at least, I would say at least 30 times. And since the moment that we create the team and refine the team, he's been play testing it against various different things over and over again, getting every little flavor out of the broth he possibly can. And I think what ends up happening is we think that, oh, okay, I figured something out, and then we stop at our current results instead of taking it to that next step. And also, there's some things that I think that are obvious, or like obviously good, or at least solid, or the majority of people are pointing their brain in that direction. But in reality, we may have outgrown that tech. And that's one realization that I came in with coaching this weekend. It's just like, hey, a guy had a good team. It's just, it wasn't tested enough to allow in the nuances that need to be there to take on a higher caliber field. There's a point where we will play test and we'll realize that what we have is good enough. And I'm going to put this in parentheses, and this is the silent parentheses that we don't always come to the same conclusion on, for local play. This team is good enough for local play. This team is good enough to beat Jimmy John, that comes, every, other week to play heroclix. This is good enough to beat Janet, who plays with her husband. This is good enough to beat Bob. No shout out. This is not a slight to Bob, the guy that came to our tournament, but just random names. This is good enough to beat Bob, who is the number 2 at the venue. Okay, and I figured for most of you all, after listening to this show for 4 or 5 months or even a year, you're probably one of the better players at your venue now. Okay, the amount of information, the amount of analysis, the things that are going on, you're probably, I wouldn't say light years ahead of your competition, but you're a couple of steps ahead, enough to make things definitive enough. in your team design and how you play, that the average player is going to have troubles with you. Okay, so I think we start looking at victory as being measured by those around us. And even with myself this Sunday, I went to my mom's church, visited a group of men that I was with for a good while after I got out of seminary. And they were talking about righteousness. And what happened was the conversation moved from righteousness into good. And I know, hey, it is going somewhere, so bear with me. And it was brought up that the definition of good becomes relative based off of the moral system of the people that are of the people around. But righteousness transcends what that good, that definition of good. And so, like us as normal players, our definition of what a good player is or what good play is many times based off of those people around us. Oh, I'm doing good for my area. Or I went a couple of towns over to play and I'm really good there too, so that means that I'm a great player. No, your region just might be weak. And then I could say that really, really definitively. There's a lot of weak regions out there. And I would say, like, hey, are you, even if you're in the Midwest, if you haven't been to Tulsa, then you don't know what strong play is in your region. If you're on the West Coast and you haven't been to Majestics or to Vegas, you don't know what the standard is. If you're on the East Coast and you haven't been to select venues in either Florida or in that New York, Massachusetts, area, to sort of general area, you don't know. You really don't know. And I'm not saying you can't have excellent players. I mean, one of the greatest players that I know I play with on occasion, he doesn't travel and he doesn't play the game. And I say that because I look at what he does and his skill level is Megalotus Man. And I bring that up multiple times, on this podcast to say that, yes, you can have excellent players that excel in this game that never go to major tournaments. I know in particular, Majestics had sort of a powering up going to a random tournament, and a guy that couldn't go to a rock but wanted to just show up and maybe play around showed up. The people that were local were talking about how he played the New Mutants team base, and the particular way in which this guy played the New Mutants team base was completely different than how Pat and Kevin were looking at the New Mutants team base, to the point where they adopted what that guy did and how they played the New Mutants team base, and now that meta is the standard, all based off of some random guy that was out the middle of nowhere that was actually a good player, but couldn't travel and couldn't do this and that, but encountered somebody who did. Now, I'm saying all this because when we look back and we say, like, hey, about practicing enough and hey, about doing stuff enough, you will get hit by something sideways. And I'm going to use that transition into my third point. Just because you prep does not mean that you've been prepping for everything. You can't prep for everything. I got hit sideways by a team in the finals for Missouri States. I don't want to say, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. I don't want to say that about, my heroclix career. But I have a good amount of second places to very high class world caliber people. Okay? So I don't take my losses like, man, I suck. It's more like, no, I have very tough games and very tight games against some of the best, top 20 players in the world. So I can't get mad, after a loss. knowing that there were points and times during that game where I made general mistakes and they capitalized on it. Or hey, like my dice didn't roll right. So let's sort of take it into what I faced in the final round. I faced Josh Ernst, aka Goku. And I was told that Josh was coming, going back to that prep part, like 3 days before the tournament. And I practiced, but I didn't practice enough. And I thought I was going to see Josh play Brainiac or Zombie Team Base. Or some weird, Brainiac hybrid with I don't know what. So I was just like, man, okay, I know what to expect from Brainiac. I know what to expect from Zombie Team Base. Let me get down this ID Yu-Gi-Oh summoning, call me Seto Kaiba because my team is expensive. Okay, so I'm looking at, in the finals and dealing with Goku, and Goku has Brimstone on his team at 75 points. He has Solaris on his team as a Colossal Retaliation. He has another Brimstone on Colossal Retaliation. He has Alexis from Age of Ultron OP set. And if you have to look Alexis up, yeah, you're not the only one. Okay, and Toy Master. And I think that's it, with a Pandora's box and no ID cards. And but here's the kicker. He had Robot ATA. So now, like, all the pairings are set. He has a ton of Perplex and a Prob and an Outwit, 2 Colossal Retaliations. And by putting the Sins on there, he does something that most people do not really plan for, is, now I have to hit Brimstone with a 19 or 20 defense. I have to try to hit Solaris with a 22 defense. I didn't stutter. A 22 defense. And the meanwhile, the full point Brimstone is sidestepping, throwing fireballs at you for 6 damage. And that's Pulse Wave. That's Pulse Wave, by the way. Okay? There was no way for me to prep for that. Quote unquote. I could prep for all the robot teams in the world. You know what robot teams I would end up prepping for? A Ultron drone team. Something that dealt with Krang. Okay? Those are robot teams. Hell, even if you were able to make those ninjas from the Ninja Turtle set, the Foot Ninjas, work. There you go. That's something to prep for. How the heck am I going to prep for Solaris with, Sins attached? I can't. And so you're going to see something that's just like, well, crap. Wasn't expecting that. I can fight it the best I can, but I don't have the stats to deal with that. I have some raw powers. Let's get this going. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Because I didn't practice enough. I didn't realize that it was better for me to summon Green Arrow just as an ID card. So I have +2 to my attack, sure up some of my attacks, and make Perma in a lower point character, mind you. But a character that has a decent attack, like Captain Marvel, since I brought him up already. Now Captain Marvel has a 13 attack, as he's adjacent to Green Arrow, and a 13 on a 20 isn't as wacky to deal with. And heck, I can perplex up that 13 to be a 14. So 14 on a 22, still need an 8, but it's better than needing a 10 or an 11 or a 12. So stuff like that, if you're getting hit sideways, you just have to go back to what your playbook is and hit it hard. And then, yes, you're able to have some critiques and some changes, and that's fine. No playbook is written in stone and then handed down from on high and says, these are the plays for all of heroclix time. Memorize these plays and victory shall be yours. No other plays shall be used. You know, the game doesn't work like that. So, anyway, let's just move on. Let's move on. Let's go on to transitioning to the script. The script is what I feel good teams have and good players have, and it separates above average players from great players. And what I mean by script is this: you do this, then follow this, and do this thing the next turn. After you do those things, you're in this position, you clear, do this other effect, bam. Then they're going to have to make these decisions, move into X position, move, do this thing, boom. And I know that's very, very vague, and it's supposed to be very, very vague, so you can insert your plan here. But most people make teams and it's like, oh, I got Banshee. I'm going to just move Banshee up, take away your stuff, and then I'm going to just running shot. Okay, how many turns is it going to take Banshee to get there? Do you want Banshee pushed when he gets there? Is Banshee carrying anybody? What's Banshee's movement if he is carrying somebody? You know, what if he's carrying a tiny? Okay, if he's carrying that tiny, what's that tiny's role in all of this? Okay, cool. You know, you got Superman. Superman is hypersonic speeding out, doing blank, 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 block, whatever. Okay, he's going to do these things to set up for Lex Luthor to be in this position, to do this. You know, I have this map, I move into this place. On this turn, I do this. The following turn, I clear this person, do that with the other person. Turn 3, my opponent should be here, so I'm going to do this. If they're not there, then I do this. Okay, if they have Colossal Retaliation, I set up this guy here to do blank. You know, like, oh, okay, I'm going to summon in this guy. He's going to do his thing. Then I'm going to carry away the summoner. Then the guy that was doing the attack is gone. No Colossal Retaliation. Poof. I'm good to go. My opponent doesn't score any additional points. Stuff like that. Stuff like that. And you can have a good team. And if you don't have a good script, you can lose to people that have weaker teams but have a script. And if your script writing is really good, you can beat above average teams if they have a poorly written script. And so I'll give an example of that, and I'll use my team from last year at Rocktober. And it worked great. Brainiac Skull Ship, full points, Indigo Power Battery, Ultron 6, Entity on Ultron 6, and I forget. And I think I have like the 2 lowest constructs that's possible. I think it's like the Mallet and the Bulldozer or something. I forgot. Doesn't matter. And the script is eat cities. Pick powers, eat cities, sidestep around, blow through walls, get into position, and force my opponent to come to me so that I can triple target attack him. Pure and simple. Oh, you got some little itty bitty guys that come up and are mystics and does jank. Okay, cool, whatever. Boom, hit some stuff. Bam. You know, keep rolling. Keep rolling. Oh, you know, I can't. You know, you have Indigo power battery too. I don't care. I'm super deep. I'm on defense dial, and I have a stupid level attack. Okay, cool. You're going to hit me. You did 3 or more damage. Ultron teleports over, heals me 1. Okay, cool. What else? What are you going to do? Oh, you have no other attacks? Great. Oh, Ultron picks the heal power. Oh, I heal with Ultron. Heal up 1. So now you've really only done what, like no damage to me? Probably. Oh, okay, now I just, punch you really, really hard. Oh, but before I do that, I'm going to sidestep out Ultron uh, one square, so that if you do hit me again, he's just going to bounce over and then heal me one. Oh, time has been going on and I've eaten enough cities. I have regen. Okay, cool, regen. Oh, I rolled a 4. Doop, doop, doop. Cool. This is great. You do what you do. You just can't do enough. So, does that mean that team was invincible? No, because I didn't win Rocktober. But I had a script that a majority of teams couldn't deal with. When I deviated from my script, that's when failure came. I faced a don't die team, and I forgot. With a don't die team, I need to play X map. Instead, I got overwhelmed with the fact that it was the first time for me to pick map, that I picked a map that was thematic and fun instead of a map that was tactically advantageous for me. So now I'm at a huge disadvantage. So these are things for you to keep in mind of after my, last bit of failures and then lessons learned and other stuff like that. And I think that these are huge things that as we go forward, some people are going to be like, in 2 years or 3 years from now, they're going to be like, oh yeah, duh. Of course you have to have a plan and work your plan and work the script. That's just going to be a thing. Of course you need to, play test 4 or 5, more than 4 or 5 times with a team. But we only get that information by people being vocal about the process. And that's the thing where I think a lot of people overlook when they have advice from these shows, is that they're looking for the shows to give them a magic pill that will allow them to beat whoever's on the top at their local venue, so that they can feel self-gratification and feel like they haven't wasted all their money and their time. And I've seen players like that. But then there's other players that are like, okay, getting to the next level requires me to do blank. And since I need to do blank, I have to go through this process. The people that are going through the process will be better players than those people looking for a magic pill. I know for me trying to be more successful in my social and dating sphere, I had to get out of the magic pill mentality. It's like, if I do this, the chick won't leave. Then it'll be great, and then she'll like me. And it's like, no, that's not it. If I had better clothes, no. If I had a better job, there's no such thing as the better job. There's always some dude with a better job than yours. It's like, but if I have the lines, Edward, the lines, I'm like, lines don't work. Eventually, she's going to feel like she's talking to a robot. So there's things that, for me, like in my personal growth in other areas, I had to say, like, all right, if I don't go through the process, then I'm not going to be a better person. And then in the end, whatever I get is because I worked that hard or I didn't work that hard. And sometimes I look back in my life, I'm like, well, hey, these other things came easy. I stuck with things that came easy, and this is where I'm at. Whereas I look at some things that I really pressed in on, I'm like, wow, I'm here. I'm still not at that level that the Grandmaster Poobah is at, but, compared to the Grandmaster Poobah, I wasn't born, spinning chakra spheres and throwing Hadoukens, Okay, cool. I'll take my, minor levitation and walking on water here and there. I'll take that. So it's different wherever you at. And then sometimes understanding your path and what your path means of growth. And you can dictate your path, or you can just let it go wherever it goes. And that, and both are fine when it comes to heroclix. And let me sort of explain that a little bit. I have, my guy on my team, Matt, and he was talking about some of the frustrations that he was having with some of the local guys, and that he's invested a lot of time in them, and that they don't want to travel, and they say they want to get better, but they're not. Their actions are not lining up with their declarations. And so I told him, in Phoenix Nest we have a path of mastery. And mastery means that I take you in at the beginning, sort of shatter all your previous walls, look at what the problems that are there, and you're sort of like this rough piece of granite. And I look at that granite and I say, all right, I think I can make this out of this granite. And then I start chiseling away at stuff. And in 2 years' time, you're your own work of art. You're not a copy of the other person that has already gone before you. You're not a cog in the wheel. You're something different. And in that process, once it's all said and done, it's like, hey, you're like a grad student doing your thesis, and I'm like a professor. We're sitting there just talking about the subject matter, and I might point you in different directions, but I'm not telling you, yeah, you need to go do this. There's a difference between a student and teacher and a teacher and a graduated student. The student can always go back to the teacher. Okay, but nothing really stops that student from being a teacher themselves. There's nothing stopping that student from going and learning different things than that professor taught. And that's one thing that, I encourage. And I have one guy, and I sort of said it briefly before, he had a bad weekend, sadly. He sort of deviated from the script. But here's the thing, what he came up with was good. He's made better stuff, but I look at his development and I'm like, you are a bigger person in this team. And sometimes we don't realize, like, yeah, my skill level's to the point where that fit who I was previously, but that doesn't fit who I am now. I'm something different. I'm something, better. I'm something improved. This is too simple. You're handing me an airplane when you need to hand me a TIE fighter. Like, what's up with this? Yeah, I can pilot this airplane, but you're wasting my skills on it. Give me this TIE fighter. Give me this Star Cruiser. Give me this Death Star. I can manage this sucker. It's no problem. Give me this TARDIS. I try to say it as best I can. I'll travel through time and then, make everything right. There's different things that you look back and you're like, yes, I'm really great, and these are really great teams, but maybe this isn't where I'm at anymore. And I'll show you this example from my own personal view. My own heroclix notebook. I'm gonna go back all the way back to somewhere after I really started the notebook. So it's really like about 6 years ago. Let's look at a team. Okay. All right, here we go. 800 points, 1 turn, KO Galactus team. And nope, never mind. That doesn't work because that was an event. Let's look at something else. Okay, here we go. Fun 800 point team. I'm running the leader with contingency plan, Black Adam for 254 points with fortitude, Iron Widow with not so special, the Atom, the 140 Flash, which was, I think it's White Lantern Flash, I think, I'm not quite sure, with Swing Line, Armor Piercing on the Flash, Marvel Girl at 40 points, so that's probably not White Lantern Flash, this is some other Flash, if it's Marvel Girl, Leanne Harper Pog, and a old Indigo Lantern for 5 points. So no, this could actually be White Lantern Flash. Okay, so let's just break down this team real quick. And I know for a majority of you would have to go to HC Realms. Okay, this Black Adam is okay. Iron Widow is okay. The Atom is 65 points, and I think that's the one with support. So I'm pretty much, I have the leader to do my weird stat bumping. I have Black Adam to smack people upside the head with a rock. Iron Widow to go out there and shoot with, I think, a +1 attack. I have Flash to run out there and do something. Marvel Girl to TK Flash. Leanne Harper's for Taya. And an Indigo Battery to heal. Because I'm obsessed with healing. And then here's my note. Okay, team got owned. Got owned bad. Black Adam got taken out fast most games. Starter Flash is strong. I guess, yeah. No, I guess this is the Flash from the... this isn't White Lantern Flash. I guess this is Hope Flash. Need to revise some things for future outings. So when I look at that, I'm like, well, yeah. Like, your damage output is limited between Black Adam, Iron Widow, and the Flash. At 800 points, there is not enough offense there to compensate for the things that you can see at that scaling. Okay? And so when you start breaking it down, it's like, oh, well, yeah, but Dark Logos, that's a bunch of cool figures and some feats. And, you know, if I ran that team now, I think that would be awesome. I'm like, okay, feel free. Free team for you. Let's go to another team that I made years ago. And I know, again, people like, oh, Tech, what does this have to do with anything? Just showing you a mindset growth. Mindset growth, okay? All right. I think... Okay, here we go. A 400-point modern age floor team. For people who don't know floor is 50% of the build comes from the current set. Okay, so I have Green Arrow at 80 points. He's a sharpshooter with stealth and RCE. White Lantern Flash at 138. Hypersonic speed, perplex, lots of heals. Night Nurse. Black Alice. She was pretty good back in the day. And then Citizen V for 397 points. Okay? Let's look at this setup here. Green Arrow, probably one of the best, cheapest, underrated ranged attackers for his time from Brave and the Bold. Night Nurse is sitting in the back, chilling, healing. Black Alice, she gives you prob now with. She also, I think she had Smoke Cloud or Side Blast, I forgot. Citizen V, that dude is old school greatness. Like, so old school greatness. And so, in a 400-point format, my damage output is really not that high. Okay, I have Green Arrow with RCE. And again, at this stage, you couldn't put it on attack and damage. You couldn't split it, so it was all damage. So it was like 11 attack, 4 damage. Then, White Lantern Flash is highly mobile, but I don't have any TK. I don't think she has Black Alice has TK. Black Alice is a very expensive support, which is okay. Citizen V is a tie-up protection for White Lantern Flash and Green Arrow. But when all is said and done, you plink Green Arrow once, you plink Flash a little bit, and you can easily kill Citizen V at a 400-point format during that era. So, where is all this going? You can see, like, as time progresses, with the heroclix notebook, you're going to be like, wow, I thought this was good. I can't believe I thought this was good. And it happens. And you have to understand this. I'm making these teams that you're listening to after playing for 5 or 6 years. So after 5 or 6 years of play, I'm at this level. And also to give you another insight, you know, you don't have rocks that's constantly changing up what the meta is and the viewpoint on the meta and what people are thinking. You really only had Wizard World tournaments or the World Championship. And so the meta was shaped for a year in the period between Nationals and the World Championship. And that was it. There was no international reported on play. Everything international was like, oh, those crazy foreigners over there with their wacky teams and metas and silly figures. I don't know what they're thinking. Whatever. You know, there was a lot of downplaying on the international community and what they were doing. Now, I can look at Brazil, or I can look at Argentina, I can look at the European bloc, I can look at the African bloc, and I'll be like, okay, they're doing these things. Why? Is economics a factor of it? Is time a factor of it? Is there just this one guy that loves this thing and curb stomped everybody, and so everyone's just like adapting towards that guy or that group of people? You don't know. There are mathematical factors, economic factors, social factors that all blend and mesh into that meta that make you say like, oh, there's that. Oh, I didn't think that they would do that. You know. So that's important. That's really important. And so I think there's a lot of things that help us develop growth. Even if you can look sort of going that far back, I don't even think I was making my show then when I was making this. And I think I was just more pissed off at the realms than anything else. Yeah, I think this was just me more pissed off at the realms during this era. Yeah, so you just sort of take that in mind, that you'll outgrow stuff, and people will try to measure you or limit you to things that you did in the past. Sort of using my teammate Matt again as an example. The people around him measure him by his Ragnarok team, which wasn't a bad team. It's not a great team. It has its weaknesses. And I would say that the player Matt is now, he's outgrown that team. But people only see him as that team, which is, you know, the fault of other people. And so they're like, hey, Matt, play your Ragnarok team. I want to see if this is good. I want to see if my team is good. If I can beat you at a moment in which you were the best, then that means that I've caught up to you, which is not true. It's not true at all. Just because you beat somebody or somebody's team doesn't mean that you've caught up with them. Doesn't mean that you're as good as them. It just means that you beat them currently at whatever state they're at under those circumstances. You know, if the meta has changed greatly from the time that a team is created till now, and you're telling somebody like, hey, play this old team, homie, play it. I want you to play your Renaissance era combat team versus my space age, you know, bio warfare team. Yeah. Let's just see how that goes. Well, I'm gonna sit back, get my popcorn, and be like those two Muppets, you know, up in the balcony, you know, talking mad crap, because it's not a fight. What it actually is individuals trying to get some level of surety and trying to establish homeostasis of personal status. Okay? I've learned this from being a player that's been good, and I've learned this from being a competitor in other atmospheres. When you are excellent, other people don't mind your excellence as long as they too are deemed as excellent. But if I put the fire down and I say, hey, whatever you throw into that fire that lasts, you get to keep, and everything that's thrown into that fire that doesn't last stays in that fire, a majority of people's stuff that they throw into that fire will be destroyed. And so folks don't like that. They don't like to think and realize that their skill level is inept or at a weaker level, that their ability in a certain area is not equal to or greater than someone else's. And definitely someone else they deem as socially inferior. And so because of that, people will try to maintain some level of equality by either shaming, saying, oh, you play that cheese, that's all you do is play cheese Dark Logos every week. I hate that. You know, you can't man up and play a real theme team. You have to go play the most cheesiest theme team of all. You can't play like a Midnight Suns theme team Dark Logos. You had to go and play Avengers Dark Logos. Of course, they have everything in their Dark Logos. Oh, yeah, you had to play a Justice League team Dark Logos because, you know, they have everything. And, of course, you play Superman Dark Logos because, you know, that's just OP. Oh, of course, you play the Quinjet Dark Logos because, you know, you can't think of anything original. Now, insert yourself into there. I'm just going off of, like, my own personal experiences, you know. And I'll say it, and it's not, like, limited to one area. I've dealt with that in multiple places. Sometimes it's in jest. Sometimes it's real. But when people start to realize that a game, this game in particular, that they spent thousands upon thousands of dollars on, that they suck, there's a lot of questioning that goes on. And so for you, the player that's getting better and growing, and you're taking strides and understanding just because I throw money at this doesn't mean I'm going to become a better player. And you come to that realization and they haven't, or they're not willing to put in the work to become a better player because they don't have the natural talent or the cultural background to just come into this type of game and just be awesome. People are going to do things to say like, okay, I'm just as good as him. Oh, we played theme night and he lost and I beat him, so it means I'm just as good as him. I know Dan in particular, we have conversations. He tells me about a certain individual at one of the venues he goes to that's really not a great player, and this guy has a chip on his shoulder for Dan. He doesn't like Dan, and if Dan comes in and plays lighthearted and loses to this guy sort of treats that victory like he's better than the world champion. And it's like you get your poor man's world championship. Oh, I beat the 2-time world champion on casual night when he bought a casual team, and I brought the best team I've made in the last 6 months, and I beat him by 5 points. I'm better than the world champion. No, you're not. The guy's not. But there's a lot of things that happen, and so sort of coming back, is that again, people try to establish homeostasis in social groups, and they don't like the fact that there is a Simba walking around, and they're Timon or Pumbaa, and they're like, I don't want to be Timon or Pumbaa. I want to be Mufasa, and then they realize they can't be Mufasa, so they turn into Scar. And if you know the play, still, just because you change roles doesn't mean that you're still the king. You know, you're like, oh, I'm bitter and I'm going to do everything to make this guy's life suck. And then it's just like, you know what? Okay, cool. When he comes back to Pride Rock, when Simba comes back to Pride Rock, it's going to be a bad day for you, Scar. It's going to be a bad day for you. And that's what happens. It's usually when those people that try to force homeostasis in terms of like, oh, you're good, but I'm going to make you socially lower than me, they fall. They fall, and then the little hyenas around them come and devour them, which is their little, chatty party and the other bitter people. And so you can't measure yourself by other people around you. You can't be mad when other people don't want to grow, because sometimes they just, you'll get groupie people who are just like, I want to be good because I want to be around a good person and a person that's good at this game, because if I'm around a person that's good at this game, by proxy, I get to leech some of his status, so I'm cool too. I know folks that'll be like, hey, I hang out with this famous person from time to time. I'm like, cool. You hanged out with that famous person. So how is that? Oh, we don't do this and do that and do blah, blah, blah. And he sets up this for me and this other thing for me. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So what do you do? Oh, I just go out there and hang out and have fun. Okay. So what value are you offering the situation? Man, you always break it down to value, like, I just go out there and be a friend. And you don't want to come back and say to that guy, like, no, you're a leech. And that's, going beyond heroclix. There's a lot of people's relationships. It's like, if I could hang around the brightest person in the room, maybe some of that glory will rub off on me, and somebody will look at me well, and I can get some of that glory by proxy. And then when the sun sets, and then everybody sees who you are, and then it's like, but wait, when the sun comes back up, I'll glow again. So, anyway, I guess sermon off for today. So, anyway, if we're looking back at some of the things that we all need to look at, number one, hit that prep a better, do more practice games. On top of that, stick to your script. Once you make one, actually learn how to make a script. And if somebody reminds me, like, hey, episode blank and blank, you said script making. Can you do an episode about script and plan making? I'm like, and I probably will. Make your script. Not only that, go back and look close and say, like, hey, what's in the meta? What can I deal with? And understand, you're still going to get hit sideways. You are. Like, tell me, like, how many people saw Brimstone at 75 points in the meta, during states? Probably just me. Okay. So, that's it. I know some of the other stuff at the end is like, but socials and status and other things. And yeah. So I want everybody to sort of, take this in. This is my lesson, my little woosah after being second place at Missouri State's 2 times. It's like next year. But yeah, so I'm learning a lot. I know I have Origins to get ready for. So next week, I can't guarantee a show. I can't. What I can tell you is the week of Origins, I am going to be cranking out content like crazy. So either every day or every other day-ish, I will have content from Origins. I'm going to tell you this much. You're going to at least get 3 videos. Day 1, sometime during Nationals or the qualifying days, and then depending on the situations, final days, the finals days, and then the best day of all, Sunday, which, if you looked at the past 2 years I've gone to the World Championships, the best interviews have come from that last day. So I'm just looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to us being able to just like have a great time. Also, another little announcement. If you haven't listened to the Quarry, this last episode of the Quarry, I am setting it up so that you can get on the Quarry if you're at Super Q or a regional. That if you can give me detailed information as soon as it's done, and like what people played, how it did, top 8 in matchups and stuff like that, then I will have you on the Quarry. It will be, nothing but the facts and you get a shout out, and you get to be on the quarry. So, yeah, if you're interested in that, PM me, Dark Logos at HC Realms on HC Realms, and hit me up definitely if you're at a Super Q or a regional. Last but not least, recruitment season for Phoenix Nest is open again. Okay? I'm going to put out more details later, but I'm going to tell you this much. You need to be able to travel to major events, at least do 3 rocks a year, not including Rocktober, and preferably you can do Rocktober in Origins. I need a Shenanigans player bad, Shenanigans control player, and trust me, I'll test you to see how good of a Shenanigans player you are. So if you're just like, I can get on a team, yeah, I'll pretend to be a Shenanigans guy. No, I'm going to test you, and to make sure you're at the caliber for the team. I'm looking for that. Now I'm going to put out like a whole detailed video of all that's involved from joining the team, what the perks are, what the responsibilities are, what the requirements are, all that. But if that's something that you're interested in, okay, something you're interested in, you have 2 points in time to plead your case in person. One is Origins, and the second is Rocktober. I recruit between Origins and Rocktober because my training period starts right after, literally the week after Rocktober training begins. In most cases, it's like 2 days after Rocktober the training begins, and it's intense. So if you're like Dark Logos, I spend 5 days out of the week with my family. From the moment I get off work to the time I go to bed, and I play heroclix casually, but I want to be better, and I have 3 hours a week to do heroclix total. That includes playing. Then no, you don't want to be on my team. You want to make some team locally and play with them and make a cool shirt and have fun and go to rocks. You want to do that. You might want to purchase a training class from me. A coaching session, $15. That would be way better for you. I need somebody with some time, because if you ask my guys, I call you a lot. So, and again, I'm not looking for people either. They're like, I get to hang out with Dark Logos. Oh my gosh, Dark Logos knows my name. Oh my gosh, he does the quarry in this podcast. I'm not looking for that either. So, I have filtered those people out before. I don't have a problem doing it again. So I'm looking to recruit between 0 and 3 people, and I reserve all right to recruit 0. So, and you think like I might be playing like I'm dead serious about holding the right to 0. So, all right, that's it for today's show. You can follow me on Twitter at StartOverPod. It came from outer space and told me, man, Edward, you need to get that omega-3 back up into your system. It's your brain work right. You can see when a new show is up on Twitter, because YouTube usually updates it. That's really one of the fastest way to know if a new show is up is Twitter. And then you can email me at startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. That's startingoverpodcast@gmail.com. If you wish to opine, keep it piffy, keep it interesting, keep it awesome, baby. If you have any cool stories from states, or if you're planning to go to Origins, send an email below to the email address. You can purchase a Phoenix Nest shirt to show your support for the team, or a Starting Over Podcast shirt, if you so desire. In the doobly-doo below, in the links below, you can get a cool t-shirt. I might do Patreon. I got to see what's all involved. If I do Patreon, then I got to figure out rewards and all that other jazz. So that's it. Thank you for listening. And remember, we all have to start over sometime.